produced by Victoire. Victoire gives a special thanks to the EWF, Empire Wrestling Federation, and Mr. Jesse Hernandez. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stylin' with Rico and myself, the Master, Emir. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a special guest with us today, as you can see at the bottom of your screen. But before we begin, Rico, I see you out there on the range, my friend.
Yes, I am.
How's the weather out there? It looks beautiful.
Oh, it's about 80 degrees. Back
Yep.
up, girl. Back up, girl. Okay, let's go over here. Come on. Good girl.
For everybody who doesn't know, that is Rico's Rose. That is his own
Yes,
personal
she is.
horse right there.
Yeah. She's
Yep.
a little I'm just cooling her down a little bit from a little training.
Yep.
No.
Little bit of training from your cowboy mounted shooting training. Ladies and gentlemen, he will be a champion of that sometime soon, I guarantee you. Rico, let's start the show. What would look good to you and I?
Well, it would look good if you'd either smack down on that subscribe button and hit the like and share with your friends, or else Rosie's going to have something to say for it.
Not only Rosie's going to have something to say for it, but our guest this week. That's
it.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Let me go put Rosie away.
All right.
And let's get to our guest.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest. Like I said, if you don't lay the smack down on that subscribe button, he may come at you with some kicks and chops. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a WWE Hall of Famer. He is a ECW, WWE champion. This is Rob Van Dam. Hey, Rob.
That's my cue, huh? How's it going?
We're doing well.
Kicks and chops, because everyone knows I do a lot of chops.
That's right. That's right. Martial artist extraordinaire. Rob, it's a pleasure to have you back here, Rob. You know, last time you were here, we touched on some subjects, and I want to bring those up. But before we do that, I want to encourage everybody who has not yet visited Rob's show. Rob, where can they find you on the podcast circuit? Give that just.
Yeah, I got a couple pages on YouTube, and one of them is at The Real RVD, which I've had forever and ever, and then it airs on another page too. That's I don't know, somehow I don't know what just find it. One True Sports, but it's I think that the guys got it linked for RVD TV or RVD TV 420 somehow.
Okay.
So I don't know,
We'll put the links in the description. How about that?
Okay, cool.
We'll put the links in. Rico's buzzed off now. He'll be back on in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Do not fret. But Rob, I want to start, before we start the topic today, you've launched Only Wrestlers. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's plug that in for a little bit first. So now you're doing shows as well as what you were doing for the platform. How's it going?
Yeah, which is always the plan, So we had our first show March 20th, just very recently, in Hollywood, and it was awesome. The people that were there were like real supportive. They loved the idea. Since it was our kickoff show, I already had a bunch of ideas on moving forward on things that I want to do to involve the whole concept more and integrate it into how we're doing our shows. For instance, the fans voted on some of the matches for the last one. They voted on the platform on the website, and then the voting had stopped, I think, before the show. And so this time, the voting will continue through the show.
Champions. They're not born in the gym. It starts from the inside, and it works its way out. Do you feel it more difficult to obtain muscle? Are you tired or perhaps depressed? Then there's a solution. Our brand new partner and sponsor, Care Aesthetics of La Quinta, are here to help you get restored to optimal health. Just use the contact information in this video and schedule your free consultation. Be sure to mention the name of the podcast, whether that be Power and Glory, Stylin', Masterclass, or Hey Roma, when doing so. We wish you all the best in your road to optimized health. And now, back to the show.
continue through the show, and we'll have it interactive so we can all whip out our phones together, and we'll have screens.
Hmm.
We'll have big screens so you can see when we're on the website and stuff. Because if it's just like any other wrestling show, then, what am I doing there? I'm
Right.
only interested if we can do something a little different. And, this is just a maybe creative idea that could 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 be around, could grow, could be something that a lot of people could really appreciate. So far it's been all good.
Yeah.
We're still getting wrestlers and fans joining all the time. We got like somewhere around 300 wrestlers
Okay.
uh, and thousands of followers,
Hmm.
and so the platform gives the fans an agenda in between the shows by following the wrestlers and their content, and communicating with each other in our community chat center, which is just a social gathering. Serve alcohol there, but it's open 24 hours a day. And we're always adding ideas to it,
Yeah.
like that, little things that might bore you, like adding notifications so the fans know when the wrestlers are posting stuff, and a bunch of little things like that. There'll
Yeah.
be a cameo-like feature that has always been planned, but we're still waiting for the technology to come through for that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we're having fun with it, and
Yeah.
the first show was awesome. The only downside was that Brian Cage got hurt at the very last bit of
Mm.
the show. Yep.
Mm. Okay. Rico, have you been listening to this innovative idea that Rob has for putting on a wrestling
Yep.
show? What are your thoughts on this,
Yep.
Rico?
Hey, new is good. Change is good. To explore it, I like the fact that the fans get to vote and stuff like that. So, it adds an extra element of excitement and participation.
Yeah, participation is key because that's the world we live in today. Everybody wants to be involved in everything that's going on. So, Rob,
Yep.
so then these matches are just they have to be put together on the fly because you don't know. It's kind of like a wild card. You don't
Well,
know
so
what's.
yeah, yeah. So my original idea that I had years ago, this is when I was in ECW,
Mm.
and this is where the seed, you know, this is the seed that eventually,
This is
became.
where you birthed it.
Well, well, yeah, I've revisited this thought that I had years ago in a meeting recently with my now partners. They were asking me, "What would you do if you were running a wrestling company? What would you do that would be different?" And because I don't really have any interest in having a company that's not different. And I was like, one thing I always had this idea where the fans would vote on the matches, and so my idea originally what it was having a list of everyone that's on the card, and then the fans voting throughout the whole show, so that there's some maybe a hot female girl with a microphone walking around to interview different wrestlers. And my idea back then was it would take wrestlers of a certain caliber to be able to go out there and have a great match. And I could picture her coming up, to Kid Cash and saying, "Well, Kid Cash, you know, as you're one of the wrestlers that hasn't wrestled yet, and the fans have voted, and they voted on your match. You ready to hear who your opponent's going to be?" And then you get Kid Cash and, "Hell yeah, man! I came all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm not here for nothing other than to just whoop some ass. So put me in the ring. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Rock and Rico." And you know,
Yeah.
and then she'd say, "Well, and then she's like, I don't know what she's looking at, a laptop pad or whatever. She's like, let's see, the fans, and your opponent is, New Jack, and it's like, damn, all right, man. Well, let me go out there, man. Let's go. And you're coming up next. That was the original idea. And you go to everybody and tell them. You go to New Jack, shit. I cut that boy up. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take that Kid Cash. I'm gonna take my blade up. I'm gonna stab him. So you ain't gonna recognize him after I'm done with his ass. You know what I'm trying to say?
I remember the last person that issued that challenge. It was old WWF.
Yeah.
And it was just I guess his opponent didn't show up. Honky Tonk's in the ring,
Yeah.
and he said, "I'll take anybody on." And this is when he held the title for over a year.
Yeah.
I'll take anybody, anybody. And guess whose music hit?
It was the
Ultimate
Warrior.
Warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ultimate Warrior, and he beat him in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That was a hot moment in my fandom.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
a great time. But it's interesting because you mentioned that, Rob, and I'm thinking about you've got to be a top caliber athlete, wrestler to be able to do that because, more and more now, a lot of the younger guys are calling spot for spot. They're going over their matches over and over and over again before they go out. In your circumstance, you can't do that. You don't have time for that.
Well, it didn't used to be like that. Like when I was
No, it used to
out,
be like what Rob is saying, Rip Rogers days. You called it in the ring.
Yep.
Yeah, the first couple of years for me being in the business, I just had to have an open ear, and I was wrestling like I started training in December of 89, had my first matches in 90, and I think 93 probably, maybe 92, but I was wrestling some veterans like Greg Valentine and Manny Fernandez.
Oh wow.
And I can't imagine if I would have went to them, green little kid, before the match and said, "Hey, I got this thing I want to do. Shoot me in the corner. I'll do a backflip over you. Turn around. I'll do a spin kick. Boom, you go down. I'll hit the ropes. I go for a rolling thunder." I can't imagine. They would have said, "Kid, shut the fuck up and just listen to me."
Yeah.
I had that. I think it was my 10th or 9th match with Jesse Hernandez in EWF.
Yeah.
I was the heavyweight title. I was the heavyweight champion. And I'm going to wrestle the Honky Tonk Man. He came in, and Jesse's preparing me and says, "Hey, you're not going to go over clean on him. He won't allow it. There's going to be a DQ and something, or disqualification." He said he's preparing me. And I'm like, okay. So me being, like I said, 10 matches, 8 months in the business, I went, whatever he wants. So I went back to the locker room. He's getting dressed. And he goes, "What do you want to do, kid?" I said, "I don't know, whatever you want to do." He's, "All right. That sounds good. Just listen to me." I said, "Yes, sir." Walked away. We had the match. And he was talking to me in the ring. Carl up, he goes, "Headlock me. Headlock me." Then he tells me, "Take me over." And then I took him in headlock takeover. And then he started to really talk to me. And he guided me the whole match. And he goes, "Okay, finish. And we're doing this, that, and this." I thought it was going to be a DQ. And I did my move. And he goes, "Pin me." I went, "What?" He said, "Cover. 1, 2, 3." He let me pin him in the center of the ring. And I went, "Oh my God." So I'm going over to Duran. He goes, "Go smash my guitar." And because his guitar was in the corner. So I go grab the guitar and I'm waving it around. And I smashed it on the turnbuckle, just like he said. And I go off, and then Jesse hits me right away. "What did you do? What did you do?" Because he thought I did it on my own.
Oh, I thought he was mad because you messed his ring up or something.
No, he thought I purposely went over on Wayne out of strength.
Right.
He thought I disrespect. So he was coming at me. I said, "Hey, Jesse, he told me to do it. Come with me. Come with me." Yeah. And we go into Wayne's dressing room, and he goes, Rico tells me, he goes, "Yeah, I told him to do that." And then it was really that. And I said, "Well, why did you let me do that?" He goes, "I knew from the minute you took me over on the headlock takedown, you knew what you were doing." And that was one of the best compliments I ever got from Wayne.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Your sideburns look really nice. So there's another one.
Hey, see, yeah. Oh, and I got my kids back. See?
Yep.
I remodeled their condo.
It looks nice.
It looks a little fishy, if you ask me.
What was that, Rob?
Looks a little fishy, if you ask me.
Definitely fishy. Hey, Rob, I got to ask you though, when you did work in AEW, did you go over with the younger guys going over the matches with you, or were you calling it in the ring when you were in AEW?
No, those guys go over every little thing, and and sometimes it comes across looking that way, in my opinion, because it is so much become,
Scripted.
trying to, yeah. And in your mind, you're already thinking about, I got to be ready for this next move instead of selling the move that you're in the moment. And there's a little disconnect there just in my critique, that's in the mindset that wasn't there, the way that I was trained. I wasn't trained to do the matches where you talk about anything,
Mhm.
especially when I was first trained, that wasn't part of the Sheik's training at all. And it was like for us, it was just like it was like so old school. Like if I was talking to my buddy, Dango, who I think you might have met for some reason, Rico. He came to a show in Atlanta. But anyway, in Sabu, and there's a few of us there. But like if we would have been talking, saying, you know, throw me in the roast, I do this, that, she could say, what are you talking about? Just do it. That's just the way that it was back then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Forgive
but,
me, Rob. I forgot who trained you now.
oh, the original Sheik.
The original Sheik.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's
then
The AWA Sheik.
what I was going to say was that I definitely didn't get trained to do TV wrestling, which now it's like almost everybody seems to get. I mean, everyone that it seems like to me gets trained to do TV wrestling, which is crazy for me because back back in the days, you wanted like 10 years experience and to be a veteran before you were really showcased on TV, or you might regret, what's getting out there because you're still putting it together. And that used to be a standard, but like I still, because I never was trained that way, I still like when I'm out there. I mean, of course I've adjusted and learned, to find the hard camera. But out of that, like if I'm thinking, if someone's like, hey, if you're gonna do any, if a camera guy's like, hey, if you're gonna do any dives, let me know which side. I'm like, dude, how many cameras you got? Like that's on you guys to catch it. I don't want to be fucking thinking about that. But for a lot of people, that's one of the first things they get taught, right after the hurricane ran off the top rope.
yeah. Yeah. Very true.
They used to tell me the same thing in WWE. Find the hard camera. In 7 years, I never learned that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have time. I'm like, you know what?
Specifically, yeah.
You got
Now
got 7 cameras.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm like, well, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. I used to tell the cameraman, okay, I'm gonna do this spot, this spot, this spot. I used to just tell them, find me, because I'm not thinking about, oh, where's the hard camera? I'm thinking about not hurting my opponent, doing the move right, selling. You
Your
find
hair.
me, my sideburns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
pose.
worried about the hair,
It would,
but you find me. I'm not
Horse.
finding you.
it would be
My
it,
horse.
yeah, it would be similar to shooting a movie and asking everybody to do the action sequences and speak their dialogue at extra quick speed because you're working fast when you're wrestling. So it's a little bit tricky to remember all these other things. And to your point, Rob, I think you hit the nail on the head. Whatever has been missing from pro wrestling is that organic flow to matches. It was so effortless back in the day, and it was more believable. Like Rob said, I've seen guys literally waiting for the guy. He comes off the rope and he's going to jump at him and catch him. I'll watch their arms go out, long before the guy even gets there. And that just, I can't imagine how having to remember every single move, how that's going to drastically impede your performance, your believability. Like you said, you can't sell, you're thinking, what am I going to do next?
And that's the way you're trained.
Yeah.
That and I will say in Danny Davis OVW, we used to do a weekly show at St. Teresa's, and Cornette and Danny, the heels went to one side, the faces went to the other side, and they were so far apart you couldn't even send telegraph messages. So you had to go out there and call it. They told you the finish, but you had to call it in the ring.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what got me kind of television ready,
Mm-hmm.
is that. And Rip Rogers was a stickler for that. You do not talk.
Mhm.
And I remember, good God bless Rip. I was doing a tag match against him and I think the Suicide Blondes, and all of us were messing up. All three of us were messing up in the match, and Rip just went and just left.
Yeah.
He just walked out. He was so disgusted with our three performances and the trying to talk and stuff. He just left, and he
Yeah.
didn't care.
Yeah.
Just walked away.
Wow.
Figure it out yourself.
Tough love is what it is.
Now I know where you
Yeah.
got the sideburns from, Rico. Now that I'm thinking about Rip and his face. Yeah.
I'm trying to get that image out of my head, ripping his face.
Hey, but just to add on one more little comment,
Yeah.
sending everybody to early 90s Japan sure would teach them to have to come up with shit when you're out there because you don't even speak the same language as the other guys.
Yeah.
And you know, the young boys or a referee might come over and and try to get the basics down, you know, and you might be able to get a spot or two or something. But either way, you're out there doing it, and you know, the part of the match that you had thought of putting together anyway was a smaller part of the match, you know.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
yeah, like it would just be like, boom, tag RVDN or Claude, as Stan Hansen used to call me, and let him get in there with one of the young boy and do all that stupid shit, and then and then and then he would come back in, and as he said, let me get back in and see if I can make it believable again.
Well, Rob, I wrestled 3 weeks in all Japan with Taka, and I learned what you're saying is absolutely true. They speak hardly any English, and you got, sometimes you got to get a little stiff to make them go
Yeah.
and do what you want to do.
If you
You
don't,
know,
they'll do it to you for
oh,
sure.
Muda did it to me for the first week,
Yeah.
and I was being really easy. And then I said, you know what? Screw that. And then I started really throwing the kicks,
Yeah.
jumping Itsuguri, stuff like that, the spinning kick to the gut. Oh,
Yeah.
he
It
got
was
that one.
Kawada
And
for
then,
me. Like until Kawada kicked the shit out of me, I was way too light because I was taught in the States that I was way too stiff coming right out of Sheik school. And hey baby. And
hi, baby.
Rico said that.
Nice of you to acknowledge that. Thank you, Rob. Okay,
So
you're coming out of Sheik
anyway,
school.
well, yeah, so I was really stiff on the indies, and then like El Snow and Mike Kelly, his partner. And so those guys were like, whoa, you know, like way too stiff. And I was hearing that all the time. And then I was trying to adjust somewhat, even though Sheik was saying, fuck them, don't listen to them. But then when I went to Japan, I had to learn all over they weren't going to sell it unless I really sent it in and out of respect for the business itself. And it took me a little while to learn that. And once I did and brought it up, then everything was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What after that first week, that next week, everything was good.
Yeah.
I didn't get stiffed again. Oh, Eagle-san.
That's what they want,
Yeah.
and then everything's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, then everything's great.
But
Everything's great.
part of the ascension, of climbing to be a bigger star over there was being a little more selfish, and like trying to give a little less and take a little more, like you want to come out looking on top, like you just out wrestled this dude,
Mhm.
and he wants the same thing too, and that's something that is probably not so much in there anymore with, I don't know. I mean, not as much. And it's a different style, but
Yeah.
it's just I feel like so many people in the business now, like just one generation ago, like when they were watching it, even I don't know, I just feel like because they grew up during a time when the business is being exposed, and then everybody thinks they understand how everything works. I feel like some of the fans that feel like they know how it all works actually became the business, and
Hmm.
so it is like more choreographed, less actual competition, and more friendly, probably than it has been before. Even though there's still the traditional um things that they try to hold on to and drill into you, like on that LFG, the Bubba's meanness, and you got to earn it. There's still some tradition like that, but overall the business is adjusting with the rest of the world and becoming a nerfed safe workplace, to nerf
Yeah,
world.
but uh, me being an ex stuntman, not wrestling, I'm talking a stuntman for Universal Studios, and I played Batman. There's stuff you got to put in there, and you got to take it, and the stuntmen of Hollywood, hats off to them for what they go through. But I think that needs to come back in the wrestling world. Get
I
not stiff, not hurt somebody, but you got to look like you're laying it in. And when somebody throws a punch and you can see it's way off, that the people can see it.
Mhm.
I mean, don't connect with the guy, but hit him here, but it's you as a professional need to make it look real. And
Yeah.
I think it's just they're going through the motions.
Well,
Rob, what do you think?
So,
Rob.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and I don't know if overall that's a big problem with me. I think when it comes to the chops, I don't like the fact that every single match has to have a battle of the chops back and forth.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
those look incredibly weak, like they're not, they look like they're just putting their palm like on the chest over and over. And it's like, that's not hurting anybody. There's nobody watching those little tiny little palm slaps, and then sometimes they do it really stiff, but I don't care because there's just too many of them.
Well, there's a lot
I
of
agree.
there's a lot of repetition. Let's just, a lot of the matches now are repeating themselves just with different characters.
Every match also has to have the Stone Cold Stunner, the Diamond Cutter, or whatever. Every match.
Yeah.
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 I remember when I was there
23.
with Flair, they said no chops, no chops because Flair was on the card. And you got it because he is the man of the chop, no chops, they would tell us.
Well,
And
again,
nobody,
it goes back to originality, but Rob said something about competition because that was an interesting comment there. Back then, there was competition, and you could see it on screen between the characters for real. Everyone was trying to outdo everybody else in a healthy way, and even themselves. Whereas now you have what looks like a dance. It's a ballet routine. I mean, not to insult anybody because obviously there's a lot of injuries and it is tough, but I'm just, simply just saying it's more of a dance between two people rather than a competition. And I think that, to your point, Rico, is what you see that's lacking now. That's what's not creating that you know that intensity between a match. And what makes the difference between a Ric Flair versus Macho Man or I don't know, Shawn Michaels versus Psycho Sid? Two different matches, and they look distinctly different. Whereas today, like we said before, all the matches are starting to look similar to each other.
yeah, they got to come up with original stuff. And that's what Rob did. I remember watching it. He had original stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, everything was original. Nobody else could copy him. That's
No.
why it was original. Anybody tried to do what Rob did because he's very talented, it couldn't do it.
Right.
So Rob had the corner on that market
Yeah.
from ECW forward and even before.
Yeah.
He developed the RVD thumbs up.
Yeah.
So that's why he's a classic. Oh, I lost him.
He'll come back. There he goes. He's come back at the bottom of the screen now. Just some
Oh,
interference.
okay. So I think Rob made himself something that nobody could copy
Right.
because he's a man of martial arts, a man very physical, very in shape. That's what made him different from everybody else. I
Guys,
remember Rob.
What was that, Rob?
Well,
Oh, Rob's frozen. He's frozen right now, Rico.
So
because he's looking at me. See, I am the stylist. The
yeah,
sideburns finally got him.
he's frozen in awe by your sideburns. He
That's
did
it.
mention them earlier. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be back with us in a second. Some technical difficulties. Excuse us from the team here at Style in the Podcast, but there he is. He's
Oh,
back.
there you
Back.
are. Well, you got froze for a little bit, Rob. Did you hear what I
You
said?
got froze from my perspective.
Okay. Tomato, tomato. Well, that look on your face was great because I thought you were staring at the sideburns.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
There he goes. He's
Hey,
back.
it's been freezing the whole time, by the way. So it'll probably keep happening.
Yeah.
All right. But did you hear what I said? That you were original?
Oh.
Nobody could copy you, even if they tried to. And that's what set you above everybody else, is because nobody could copy your moves. And
Oh, so sweet.
no, hey, I'm not sweet. I'm just saying the truth.
What do you think
But-
about? What-
I used to watch Rob when I was there. We were on the same card and stuff. This guy would stretch for at least an hour.
Yeah.
At least an hour before his match, got ready, had his singlet on, and he really prepared. Rob's a true professional,
Yeah.
you know, so he went in there and he was prepared to do the crazy things that he does,
Yeah.
you know. So he didn't just go there and wing it. So I'm telling the audience, he worked at it.
Yeah.
And he always worked at it, paid attention, got his center. And when he did his match, he was always on top of it. When I wrestled him, I remember we tried to do the kickboxer routine. Remember that? Kick you in the ribs, you kick me in the ribs. Remember that spot?
Rob, can you hear us? He's frozen again,
He
Rico.
froze again.
He'll
I'm just too stunning.
yeah, you are. You're stiffing him with those kicks. That's what it is. He's remembering those kicks, and he's frozen. There he goes. He's back.
Can you
Do
see
you
me?
remember the match
we
we
can-
had? Now I can see you.
Yeah.
He
You
said
remember
you.
the matches when we did the Jean-Claude Van Damme with the kick in the ribs from Kickboxer?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so funny. I couldn't believe you went for it, but you did.
Rob, do you
And
if you still got are you still work on your stretching to this day? Are you still very as agile as you were then? Do you still stretch?
Still working on it. Not quite as agile as I was. Not wrestling every day makes it a lot harder to put everything into those stretches, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I was busy wrestling 4 or 5 times a week or more, then I would stretch every day before that. But I go out by the pool in the sun and stretch today without a match. It's not going to be nearly as good of a stretch, and so can't say that and you know some things hurt. Like everybody used to watch me stretch and say, "Man, I need to start." Stretching with you, Rob, but they never would, or they would do 1 or 2 days and never come back. And now
because they were sore.
yeah, now I get it. Like when parts of your body hurt, stretching isn't fun at all. Like I used to think it just felt so good. It was just like a toxic release, and just a total body exploration and inner experience of maintenance checking for normality and homeostasis. But anyway, when you're hurting and it's like, ugh, that's not fun at all. And I felt like I was made of rubber a lot of my career when people would accuse me of it, because I felt so good. I'm like, man, why don't people do it? And I, stand and stretch. I sit for a while. I'm on my back.
The only person I saw stretch more than you, the only person, is DDP.
Mm. Yeah.
That's the only person that stretched more than you.
Wow. But it paid
'Cause he
off.
used to-
It paid
yeah,
off.
but he was
Yeah.
doing the yoga by the ring. He was doing everything that he does now. I saw him doing it and helping other wrestlers
Mm.
to stretch, like before the show and stuff like that. He would always pass on his knowledge. That's what I really loved about DDP.
Yeah,
Rob did too, and people could take it for a while, but then they said, I'm tapping it.
Time out.
Tapping
Yeah.
out.
DDP's doing great things for the boys.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he
for
is.
sure.
Yeah.
Very
Hats
good
off
things.
to DVT.
Yeah. He's doing some
So-
great things. Rob,
What?
now are you gonna sorry, Rico. I'll let you go. Rico?
No. You do with your question because I want to move on to what we're really talking about here.
Okay, I was gonna
Besides that,
yeah, I was gonna ask you, Rob, are you gonna make any appearances on any wrestlers? Are you gonna have any matches?
I plan to.
Okay, good. Something to look forward to there for your fans. And also, is it going to be televised or is it on YouTube, website? Where can they watch
Well, that's
it?
something else that we didn't do on the first show that we're gonna start doing probably with this second show, which is May 20. Is it the 3rd or the 29th? May 29th in Chicago.
Okay.
If I have the date.
Allstate Arena or somewhere else?
No, no, not that big ass place.
Okay.
But that's something there as well that we're probably that we're looking at doing and we're probably going to is to start filming for a show, whether it's on YouTube or whatever platform we end up doing it on. But that's so far, no, don't look for it yet, but yes, that's in the plans.
Okay,
So it's in the
wonderful.
work. It's in the making.
Yeah.
It's in the
Okay,
making.
good.
And
Amir?
also, yep.
Take it to our next subject, my friend.
All right, we'll take it to our next subject. So last time Rob was with us here, Rob was talking about the music industry, in fact, and he piqued our interest because it's something Rico and I talk about quite often, and the darkness that's involved. Now, it seems to be the satanic darkness involved in Hollywood, it's in music, it's everywhere. Thank God it's not quite yet in pro wrestling. I think, Rico, you'll agree, once it hits pro wrestling, you and I are going to have to tap out and find another industry to work for. But
I got cowboy mounted shooting.
there you go. We'll just have to become journalists after that, and that will be into that. But anyway, but so Rob, now obviously all three of us have loved heavy metal, rock and roll at some point in our lives. When was it for you that you really realized, what the hell am I listening to? What was the song, and what made you change your impression of what the music industry is?
I still don't know what the hell I'm listening to. I'll hear songs right now that I've heard almost my whole life, and I'll be hearing the words for the first time. Like right now, that happens all the time. And I'll tell Katie, like, "Oh my God, that's what they're saying," and it's so clear now. But I feel like for the most part that I've never really plugged into music that much. And so I feel like I don't pay as much attention to it. It's more background fodder for the most part. Like I never get into it so much that like you're not gonna see me out on the dance floor, most likely not even like bobbing my head,
Right.
And that's what people do is they let it run through their system and take over, and they subscribe to it, and then it's controlling them. I mean, at least to some extent. I think someone would have a hard time arguing that. It's obvious when you're watching it, and maybe that's the intention for the enjoyment or whatever. But I've never, like I remember third grade when starting, hearing popular songs on the radio in the car, and realizing that that's supposed to be cool, and I'm supposed to like certain songs, and I guess not like other songs or whatever. And I always thought like I always thought that was like one of the things that turned me off from wanting to conform to be like other kids, and that and stupid conversations about dress code fashions or whatever. And that didn't make sense to me. I was never taught or made to understand things that, I don't know, in the world of survival, how important is it, really, if that shirt matches those pants. But anyway, I had to get famous to get my girls. I wasn't taught to do it the traditional way. And that was part of it though, was music. Like I remember they had K-Tel albums, these big 33s that would have a bunch of different artists, all the hot songs on the radio. And I remember getting that like for Christmas or whatever and bringing it in for show and tell. And we're all listening to The Tide is High by Blondie.
Oh yeah.
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 Deborah Harry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right. I think Come Sail Away was on there.
Yep.
What if we get
Sticks.
what if we get caught between the moon and New York City?
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, and Rod Stewart had something on there, and I just remember during that, like if I ever said, this is my favorite song, it wasn't. It was kind of just like picking something. I didn't really feel that connected to it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, to answer your question, I think what you're asking me, when I looked at it from the perspective of, oh my God, why is there so much satanic, Satanism? Because it's everything. It's the art, it's the lyrics, it's the way the stars like to dress themselves up, and it's the content, it's everything. That was when I was, I think maybe like 16, 17 years old. There was a
Which means I was like 80.
yeah. Okay. Well, there was a kid that had this VHS tape, and it was a special that it aired on TV where they were exposing all of what we're talking about, and that was scary as a kid. And the kid was like pretty religious. They brought it over to me, and he was like, "I want you to hear this." So it was, he kind of pushed it on me, but I was glad he did, because I was like, everything. I mean, when it was even like, why does it say that when you play it backwards? You know what I mean? But some of it was one of them, another one, Bites the Dust, right? That song.
Oh yeah. Queen.
That's Queen.
Yeah, they would play that, and they would play it backwards, and it was like something said, "Start to smoke marijuana."
Wow.
They were like, "Start to smoke marijuana because the devil wants you to smoke marijuana so you don't have your senses to be able to fight him." And but there was a bunch of songs on there, and it was enough to sway me over to say, "Damn, this is interesting." One of the ones that sticks out in my mind was the album cover for Ronnie James Dio, which I don't think I would know who he was if it wasn't for that show, actually. But I mean, he did have a good popular song, Whip It, right?
Oh
Whip
yeah.
It. That was Dio.
No,
Whip
Whip It was
Whip It
Dio,
real good.
or
I think
that was
Dio.
Devo.
Devo, okay.
Devo.
Devon, get the tables.
Yeah. No, don't. I
You're
hear
right.
that in my
My
sleep.
bad. So I don't know
hear
what
that in
Dio's
my
saying, but
sleep.
yeah.
Devon, get the tables.
The album
Oh,
cover.
no.
Yeah. What was the album cover,
Devo.
Rob?
It was there's a priest or a preacher, I don't know if there's a difference, a father.
Yeah.
And he's like tied up, his arms are together, he's tied up like, I think, with a chain or rope, but I remember a chain, and he's in the water helpless, and holding the other end of the chain is Satan, standing strong and proud on the land. And I believe the album is called A Holy Diver.
Wow.
Oh,
And I was just,
no, that's
I
Dio.
was like,
That's
why?
Dio.
Like, yeah.
Dio.
Dio.
That's Ronnie James Dio. Holy
Okay.
Diver.
And also the other thing about that, the way that Dio is written, DIO, you turn it upside down, it says devil.
Wow. That's
So
crazy.
that couldn't have been on accident. So my interest right away, I was like, whoa, like what is that? And
Yeah. Holy
It's
Diver was Dio. Whip It was Devo.
Yeah.
But I got to
Get the
say something with
tables,
Rob
Steven.
and the music. I've always listened to music because, like I've told everybody, I have ADD, but the lyrics are part of the song to me. I mean, I could sing a whole song word for word and still not know what it meant because it was part of the lyrics. So even all these songs and stuff, and I was a fan of AC/DC.
Mm.
Okay. And you know what that stands for, do you, Rob?
And is it Christ, Devil's Child? No.
Children,
What's that? Oh,
children.
Devil's.
Yeah,
What are you
children.
saying? Sugar?
Antichrist, devil, children.
Oh, I said child. That counts on it.
Well, it
Yeah,
counts.
you
You're
said, yeah.
right. But when I was a kid, I was a big fan. Shook Me All Night Long, Back in Black,
Uh,
Rosie, everything. Whole lot of Rosie. I would sing those songs, but not know what I was saying.
right.
But it was just part of the lyrics. And then one day I sat and I really started to listen and go, whoops, Metallica and enter or end light, enter darkness.
Sandman.
I was Sandman. I was like, holy mackerel. I used to like that song. Now I know
Yeah.
what it's talking about. I don't like that song no more.
Well,
But
one of the
music was a whole part of my childhood.
And
Yeah.
The
also
pop
AC/DC.
songs.
AC/DC also has those lightning bolts through it, like
Yes.
Kiss has. Kiss.
Yep.
Maybe Metallica has it. I don't know. Maybe not.
Metallica does.
But anyway, yeah, that's
Yeah.
has some satanic origin, and it's also isn't it part of the the Nazi symbol? Isn't it like two of those lightning bolts together that makes the
It's
The
the
swastika.
swastika, yeah,
Delta?
like,
Yes.
but yeah, it's crazy. Like the history of music,
Swastika.
obviously, Rico, you and I both know from the Bible, the chief musician in heaven was Satan himself. It was the devil.
Right.
It was the chief musician in heaven. So, and music is like,
And
was it?
Andy was an archangel.
Yeah.
He wasn't just an angel, he was an archangel.
Yeah. And he was the chief musician. And music is almost like an incantation. Like you said, Rob and Rico, if you sing along with it, you're chanting. It's almost like a magic spell. You're chanting, 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 chanting the same thing over and over again. And it does, and it is designed to swing you in emotional state. If you hear sad music, you get sad. If you hear up music, if you hear angry music, you get angry. It is a mind control. And again, we're not going down conspiracy, everybody, but we're just saying for what it is. Even a wrestling theme song, right? It's done to evoke an emotion before the guy comes
Yeah.
out. So it sets the tone, as it were. I think music can be used for good, but I certainly think it's being used for evil, and it's become more prominent now. Did you guys know, actually, Rico and Rob? So the Beatles, they were beloved by a generation. They were changing the world. Well, do you know they had Aleister Crowley, a known Satanist, on the cover of their Yellow Submarine album?
I
His
did.
face is right there. You knew that, Rob.
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy. Rico, did you know that?
Nope.
Well, you do now.
I do now.
I mean, it's just like it's crazy, this stuff,
Well,
man.
the Beatles started out, if you look at the early Beatles and the late Beatles, that's two different Beatles.
Yeah.
I started to wonder about the Beatles right after they released Back in the USSR.
Mm,
That's when I started questioning them. And then they just went totally, in those days, it was called psychedelic,
yeah.
And, Yellow Submarine. And then after that, it just, I'm thinking of a song, I'm trying to remember the name. But yeah, they just totally went off the equator,
Yeah.
and they just started singing stuff because they knew people were listening to it,
Hmm.
and they were guiding people through that hippie age,
Mhm.
Woodstock and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
And I think that's when they changed. When they first started, I don't think they meant to be, I want to hold your hand, stuff like that. Those were positive songs, and I
Wow.
think they evolved into
What-
something else.
What happens, much like any other industry, once the claws got in you, once you got to a certain point, it's like if you want to get any further, Rob, you've been around Hollywood. I'm sure you sense that. If you want to go any further than where you're at, you're going to have to do X, Y, Z, and Z, and you're going to have to bow down to this next. I mean, there's, Rob, when you did a few movies, right, Rob? You did one with Batista back a while back. which was very good, by the way. Very good acting in that, Rob. Very good. Very, yeah.
Uh,
No, it was good, man. I remember that. Did you see that fight sequence that Rob did with Batista when he was running away from a mob or something? I remember that vaguely, Rob. You were running from a mob and they caught you, and then Batista let you go or something like that. What was the name of that movie?
Wrong Side of Town.
Wrong Side of Town.
That was a lot of fun. I have been in a lot of movies, and that was my only starring role in
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah. You got any new
I'm
movies
gonna
coming
look
up?
that up.
You got any new movies on the horizon, Rob?
Mm, I think that there's a couple, one for sure that I've already done that's like going through longer than anticipated post-production,
Hmm. Hmm.
They're
so
doing editing and stuff like that.
yeah, an extra requested effects that weren't originally planned, so yeah, editing. But anyway, seems like there's something else, but so sometimes I do like some things like appear in like shorts or whatever, and then I don't even know like if they come out, so I don't know,
Yeah.
but at least that one, and probably, I mean, I'm talking to some of the people that I normally work with about possibilities, but nothing to break news here. But
Yeah.
but just to stay on the subject for a minute, do you think it's all music, or just certain kind of that rock or heavy metal or whatever the hell you call it that has the that satanic pull?
I
Not
think
just music,
Rico.
not just music. It's all a culmination of everything. Television, movies, video games. I think it's a culmination of everything. The way we live life now, the way we treat each other is just sad as human beings. I just think, music is one part of this puzzle. It's not all music. I think it's everything involved.
But I mean,
Mhm.
as far as like we're talking about all the symbols that are blatantly put in the artwork and in the lyrics, and you know,
Well, even Walt Disney on some of the films. I think Aladdin was one of them. That I can say for sure. There's one other one.
Mermaid
They
had a
had,
penis.
Yeah,
huh?
Little Mermaid.
Mermaid had it.
Yeah,
The Little Mermaid had a
they
penis.
had sex. They had 69. I think in Aladdin. Don't
Ooh.
quote me, but I know they had the clouds and stuff like that. There's subtle subliminal messages
Hmm.
in everything. And I think that's the way Satan is getting to us is subliminal messages because they put it out as a Walt Disney, and everybody's like, oh, it's Disney.
Hmm.
And then they see these movies and these subliminal messages come through. Just like they're fighting over right now the new Snow White movie.
Oh, it's terrible, man. Absolutely terrible.
Oh my gosh, how can you ruin Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs?
Well, easy.
Come on,
Disney,
that's
they did
plain
it.
and simple. Evil against good, and evil does not triumph.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be. But
Well,
now
they've switched it, Rico. Well, it doesn't
I
even
know.
like with Wicked, right? I thought that the
Yep.
Wicked Witch of the West was evil, according to the Wizard of Oz.
No,
Apparently,
no,
she's not
no, no.
anymore.
Witcher of the West is not evil in the
Which
movie.
the East.
The East is the evil one.
She's the green one. She's the green one, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
but she was evil in Wizard of Oz. Now she's not evil anymore. She's just misunderstood.
Oh, misunderstood. Thank God, society. Misunderstood. No, that's evil. Right there,
Exactly.
right to the bone. She even
Exactly.
looks evil.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, that tells it to you right there.
Rob,
And
yeah, yeah, but
Right.
Rika, so Rob, they even did it, to throw back here to martial arts. Okay, Cobra Kai, Karate Kid. So they did the
Yep.
same thing there. So in the original film, um, uh,
Machio.
Machio was the good guy, and
Yep.
he was getting bullied by the bad guys. Well, then when Cobra Kai came out, they flipped it that it was actually him who was the problem, and the other guy was actually the good guy. They're doing it all over the place. The evil is good, and good is evil. And Rob, that's in the Bible, man. That was predicted thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago. Right there. Rico, do you remember what passage that's in where it says evil will be called good and good will be called? It's got to be in Revelations.
Okay, I'll agree. Right now, I can't recall.
Okay.
But like I said, this guy was known as the bad guy in the karate movie,
Yep.
as evil as you can get because of the instructor.
Yep.
And then he turned his way after good triumphed over evil.
Mm.
And in Cobra Kai, the good guy, the hero, becomes the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it
So he
sounds like
turns from
creative.
face to heel.
Sounds like creative writing to me. That what do you do? What do you do with the baby face when things start getting dry and getting stagnant? You know,
Yep.
you turn him heel.
Turn him
Every,
heel.
True.
but yeah,
Very,
I can attest to that.
yeah.
I was a baby face, and then I went heel. And when I went to WWE, I came out as a heel, and the fans turned me baby face.
That part is true. And I'll give you that, Rob. That's true. But
every
I think,
story is good. I mean, the when you come down to every story, you know, I don't know how many different stories there are. Not, I know there's not very many. There might be, oops, there might be boy loves girl or something like that. But girl loves boy, girls loves girl. No, someone loves someone. Otherwise, it's good versus evil. I mean, that's pretty much the limit of our story. So what are you gonna do to keep it interesting if you don't, you know, let the yin and yang actually like rotate and sometimes explore what it's like to have the evil oppression on top of you and being able to keep on moving and eventually, you know, boom, it'll
yeah.
balance up.
No, very true. Very wise words there from Rob. You know, very true. I mean, that is, you know, a way for the entertainment industry to evolve. I just think, you know, more prolifically these days, uh, if you peel back the onion, as it were, and you really dive into what they're trying to say, it appears it's a concerted effort to push that agenda of, well, we've been hiding this for years, but now all of a sudden we're going to just reveal it right to your face. And I think just proceed with caution with whatever you listen to, whatever you watch. Just, you know, don't saturate yourself in darkness because you will become it. It's like food. You know, if you eat garbage, you'll eventually feel like garbage. If you watch garbage and listen to garbage, you eventually become that. Have a balance, a healthy balance, but also know, you know, limitations to things. You know, we want the best for everybody, don't we, Rico? We want everybody to thrive. So, you know, just protect your mind. Your mind is something that needs to be protected too. But gentlemen, we've reached the top of the hour here. We've gone over the top of the hour actually. So
Because Rob is so damn interesting. That's why.
So over.
It's his fault.
we went over today because of RVD.
It's all
That's
about
it.
balance. That's the takeaway.
Rob, we
So
want to thank you.
everybody with what you want and want to watch, just put it in its place, put it in perspective, you know, understand that what you're listening to, what you're watching and stuff like that could corrupt you. You know, it's the people that think they don't have to put up a defense
Okay, right
to
now.
stuff like this,
Rico's right.
and you need to. So, you know, you know your core thoughts. If it goes against your core thoughts, you know, okay, that's just entertainment. That's where people have to separate it. This is entertainment. This is not real life, and separate it.
Mhm.
And not saying you don't have to listen to the music. It just be careful what you take in.
Yeah, I think that's sage
That's it.
words, wise words there. Rico, I want to thank Rob. Rob, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time out to join us on Styling today. Yep, there he goes. Yeah. We encourage everybody of our viewers who have yet to go and check out Rob's podcast, please go and do so. Also, check out Only Wrestlers, very innovative new wrestling company platform on the rise here.
That's the Horned Warrior. You know that, right?
Yeah, thanks for that, Rob.
Yep.
According,
How about this one, Rob?
according to
What's
this
this one?
documentary that I watched.
What's this one, Rob?
But I see you.
Hang loose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he didn't blow it up. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, okay.
Thank you, Rob.
All right.
Appreciate you being here, buddy.
Gee,
Thank you,
Rico.
everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next time on Styling.
Boom.